Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about false alarms. I came across an interesting article that discussed home security systems and the frequency of false alarms. So let's dive into that. Before we dive into the article, let's quickly review how an alarm system actually works. So you typically have some physical hardware like a door contact, a motion sensor, or glass break sensor. So once that's triggered, it goes back to the control panel, and the control panel sends a signal back to the central monitoring station, who then either calls you to confirm or calls and dispatches police. So here's where the issues start to arise. So here's the article that I referenced, and quite frankly, I'm inclined to agree. And the big part is false alarms. False alarms make up 98% of dispatches. And if you're on the receiving end as a law enforcement, that can drive you. And I've been on the other end of this too. In my previous position, as head of security, I would often get these innocuous phone calls, whether it was a rat or something in the warehouse that set off the motion alarm, or people coming in when they're not supposed to, maybe like 5 minutes too early. So you're constantly getting these phone calls of false alarms, and if you're not on top of it, police will get dispatched. And in certain municipalities, they can fine you. So let's briefly talk about police response times. It should be no surprise that the smaller municipalities have a faster response time. They likely have less going on. The ratio of law enforcement to residents is probably a little bit better than larger cities. But in the larger cities, I mean, it can take up to 40 minutes or longer if they even show up at all. So really, you're left with few options. And this kind of ties back into those false alarms. If you're constantly flagged for false alarms, that police department or whoever's responding, they will certainly flag you. And the likelihood of them prioritizing or showing up um, is less likely. So this brings me to my next point of dispatch prioritization. So as you can see here, so this is taken from a consultant in California. They've actually deprioritized unverified alarm activation calls, meaning they will likely not show up, or the response time will be um, a considerably long time. And then here's kind of a big red flag as to why in 2023 alone the LAPD themselves received 30 or excuse me 65,000 alarm related calls. That is just insane. And the more people that have alarms, the more false alarms you have, and then the more headache it is for the local police department. Secondly, these types of dispatch calls they're not a priority. If you have a violent act going on elsewhere, that is going to receive priority, as opposed to just a simple break-in. But if again verification, if you can verify, hey, there are armed intruders actively invading my home, or dispatch, that we have an active armed assailant at this property, that will receive a higher priority. And therefore, you will have a faster and guaranteed response. So here's a great example coming out of Ventura, California. They actually have a written policy about their verified response. Please note here, exclusions to verified response include robbery, panic, and intrusion alarms, meaning they might not show up. So, what is a verified alarm? This is where you have the central monitoring station. They are calling in and they're confirming, hey, I have so and so at this location. I can confirm that there is someone breaking in, or whatever's happening, right? There are companies out there that can share video. Um, Eagle Eye actually has a service where you can share the live stream video with the dispatch center, so that's very helpful. This will most certainly get you a response in a quick time frame. Other ways you can verify is you call yourself. That is more likely to get a response from the local police department than one of these central monitoring stations, where they get again thousands of phone calls in large cities in a year. So what do you do with this information? Well, there's a couple of recommendations that I would pose. you can go the self-monitoring route that a lot of these companies have, and that allows you to verify your own alarms, which gives you a greater chance that you will get a timely response. And couple that with a camera. So you get an alarm, you verify with your camera that something's going on, and you be as descriptive as possible to that dispatcher. You tell them, hey, I've got 3 guys or whatever is going on, and include if they're armed or not. This will essentially help them prioritize this dispatch call and will determine your response. Secondly, if you do have a large or a lengthy response time, if you're in a large city or whatever, you have time to react yourself, which is the if assuming you're on site. Um, this is the best self defense you can have. You have a tiered approach in your home environment. So you have an alarm system, you have video monitoring, and then whatever kind of self defense methods you want to take in place. I will also add that there is a remote guarding option, which essentially you have live agents similar to the central monitoring station. They will get access to your video if an alarm's triggered, and then they can use that to communicate with police. So that is another step, but again, that will come with a considerable monthly payment. And the last thing I want to say is this whole system, the alarm intrusion detection system, is all predicated on the fact that you have enough responding agents in your area. If you have defund the police movements and all this other stuff that you have personnel that are dedicated to respond to these types of incidents, if you don't have that, this system does you nothing unless you're using it for self response. All right, folks, that's my take on this article and the alarm industry in general. So if I could leave you with anything, make sure you have a layered approach in your home defense, whether it's an intrusion detection with monitoring, without monitoring, video monitoring, and then you have some form of self defense, whether it's hiding in a safe room or a more active approach, if you will. All right, so that's it for the video. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that like, subscribe button, and thank you again for tuning in. See you next time.